Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games, part of the New England Premodern Monthly, also known as the ELD Premodern Open. Bryn on Replenish, Rude on Reanimator. Had a lot of success with a faster build of Reanimator than people typically see. Speaking of speed, we have an Ancient Tomb inside, but just kind of on curve, putting out Seal of Cleansing. Strongest zombie infestation off of a dark ritual and an animate dead. Either one of these enchantments can be answered by this Seal of Cleansing. Got to imagine it's going to be Dragon Mage. Yeah, that cannot be allowed to enter the battlefield. Infestation, a discard outlet that also makes some bodies. Goes to flashback things like Cabal Therapy. And looks like they're actually looking this up on their phone. For players to find themselves on camera, feel free to call the judge over. Sort that out immediately. Animate Dead does have a triggered ability, so with that trigger on the stack, you can blow it up with the Seal of Cleansing, and the creature will never enter the battlefield. They did come to the correct conclusion, though, which is important, as extra cards off of that Dragon Mage would have been a problem. Speaking of extra cards, Attunement starting to do the job. Draw 3, discard 4, dig through the deck, fill up that graveyard for an eventual replenish. It can pay full retail and actually cast the enchantments. Graveyard Hate doesn't necessarily stop this deck right in its tracks. And just like that, Attunement, of course, no mana to activate the ability, so in the same turn, he's able to fire off or replenish. This is not going to be great. We're going to see a Opalescence turning everything into a body. And let's see here. Sorted it out. All right. I'd imagine what happened there was the Animate Dead triggered ability was responded to with a Seal of Cleansing, and Bryn just had a board presence after that. All right, Rodney with the play here, and a very fast start. Dark Ritual. Ball therapying himself. He's going to go ahead and bring back Dragon Mage. This thing, once it starts doing its work, kind of hilarious. I don't think it's any good. Got to reanimate on Multani as well. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. So a Wheel of Fortune stapled onto a 5/5 body does need to connect, which it did. Of course, drawing Bryn into Swords to Plowshares. Also stocking his graveyard. Tawny is happy to see both players with a full grip, though. Really just going to wrap this up in a couple of turns. Swords did take out the Dragon Mage, but can't touch Multani. As Shroud and updated. Previously just couldn't be the target of spells or abilities. It's famously keyworded now. Also introduced Hexproof, which is not part of this format. And Ward is just a hilarious mistake. I think they were trying to make Hexproof feel less bad and somehow just made it feel so much worse. Because you're still allowed to target it. You just like throw your Swords to Plowshares into the trash instead of being told you're a dummy and you can't swords their guy. And it's like, put your swords back in your hand because you made a rules violation. You're allowed to do it with ward. Just don't get it to resolve. It's pretty rough. I suppose on the other side, you can actually attempt to Swords to Plowshares their ward guy. That's not a rules violation, whereas attempting on purpose to Swords to Plowshares a Multani is just straight up cheating. That sounds like it probably should just be a video. It's kind of nuanced. No answer for that Multani. Rin actually looking like kind of a mulligan here. Replenish is one of those decks that I don't think sees a ton of play. I'm not quite sure why. There's definitely a phenomenon in Premodern as it relates to the cost of cards. Things like, well, Mox Diamond, though, does see a bunch of play. I don't know how to analyze it. I feel like cards like Intuition and Ancient Tomb are underplayed Premodern. But we do see a lot of Mox Diamond. That card is very expensive. Still a Cleansing. Staring at a Putrid Imp. Can in a little bit of damage, but he can't do it all himself. Rodney going to need to use the graveyard at some point. Cabal Therapy. In the dark. Taking a shot at Bryn. Of course, it could have also... Actually, with Putrid Imp, you'd never target yourself with Cabal Therapy here. Plenty of discard access. Is targeting Bryn, just tanking on it. Ooh. Oh, and in the dark hits 2 copies of Parallax Wave. Next turn, Opalescence can be online with City of Traders. Those waves would have been a huge problem. So just Opalescence in hand for Bryn. Rodney needs to dodge a Replenish. Absolutely nailed that Cabal Therapy. Question is, does he hit the Opalescence as well? Replenish is really the only card that's going to matter. It looks like Reanimate has hit Blade Wing, but there's no other dragon to follow up, so that's totally underwhelming. Just a 4/4. Oh, and he rips Replenish like an absolute villain. Look at that. Just all the damage undone. Parallax Wave. Wow. That is just awful. And with that Opalescence in hand, this is very close to a lock. So Rodney has to get rid of this right now. This Opalescence, if it does enter, is going to turn these Parallax Waves into creatures. That's going to be infinite creature removal. It's now or never. Zombie Infestation. So at least he can flash back this Cabal Therapy. Have been crap. As it is, this is a terrible spot. And it's just 2 attacks if he gets down an Opalescence. I mean, the other side of that is it also makes a clock, so. As it is now, not only are these Parallax Waves not unstoppable murder machines, they also aren't doing any damage to Rodney. Might be able to wait this one out. It's a little bit more fading to come. But with that Opalescence in the graveyard, once these Parallax Waves go away, another Replenish would, in fact, just completely lock Rodney out. Barring setting up some type of infinite combo, which the deck can do. If he does have Altar of Dementia along with a Blade Wing, There is no opportunity to respond. Essentially just loop sacrificing your Blade Wings, Legend Rule, bringing them back and forth, and actually mill out your opponent. So this is an interesting game here. Rodney drawing toward a more complex setup. Just has auto I win button. Pretty much lethal damage from the graveyard. Comes to that. See, Zombie Infestation also can set a little bit of a clock. Start turning guys sideways. Parallax Wave from hand. They didn't catch. It must have been an Exhume that brought back the Dragon Mage. Parallax Wave does take it out for a while. I believe that wave should have 3. There we go. 3 counters on it. This should be a wrap. Opalescence in play. Parallax Wave should be able to target itself. It'll come back with 5 counters. Now we can target the Dragon Mage, respond by targeting itself. That'll be permanently exiled. Any other creatures. Essentially, you just cannot win with creatures from that point forward. It's what Rodney's deck is going to need to do. It is a minor exception that if he did manage to get down a Ashnod's Altar or in a red build, a Goblin Bombardment, he actually could win through that, which is pretty rare. Most decks in Premodern just straight up lose, barring some type of disenchant effect. But Bryn takes it down versus supposed to be the faster combo deck.